Hey everybody, it's Heidi Hope and it's FAQ Friday. Thanks for joining me this week. We have lots of juicy questions to dig into, and I think I'm going to get started right away. I just want to remind everybody though, before we get started, as usual, the Photographer Rising online workshop registration closes in 2 weeks. And our retreat is over halfway sold out as well. So there's only 2 more times that we're teaching out of this studio this year because we have another baby on the way. So if you want to learn with Heidi Hope Photography, those are your 2 chances. One is the online workshop. It's running in May and the beginning of May. And then there is a newborn and maternity retreat, which is going to be amazing. It's 4 teachers. It's myself and 3 other teachers, Mary of Pebbles and Polka Dots Photography, Kelly Brown of Little Pieces Photography, and Tiffany Bender of Munchkins and Mohawks Photography. So it's going to be a great group. We have like crazy shoots planned. I'm so excited. So check into those. You can find all of that information over on photographerrising.com. And don't forget to sign up for our newsletter for photographers, because that's where I write you almost every week. I try to write every week, but you can kind of get a little insight into my business and my crazy brain. Usually I write newsletters at like 4 o'clock in the morning, so you can see what's on my mind at that time of day. All right, let's get started on these questions. Okay, our first question is from Katie. Thank you for taking the time to do FAQ Fridays. Here's my question. Do hashtags really do anything? I know what they do. I'm just wondering, do they really help drive business? Sometimes I feel like they don't do much. Any tips to improve them? Thanks. This is a great question, Katie, and it really depends on what social media platform you're talking about. So certain social media platforms like Facebook, hashtags don't really do anything. Hashtags don't work that well on Facebook. If you try to search a hashtag on Facebook, it's not going to be consistent in showing you results. And a lot of times the results are filtered. It might just be your friends. And hashtags really work well in other platforms like Twitter and Instagram, and even Pinterest to some extent. But I think Twitter and Instagram are really where hashtags are most powerful. And the reason why they're powerful is because they allow you to be seen by a broader audience. So when you're using a hashtag that's popular or that's trending or that's timely, like let's say it's Easter and you use the hashtag Easter, just thought of that because that just went by. But if the Sweet 16 was on and you use that as a hashtag, your posts are going to be thrown into the pile of everybody else who's hashtagging that, right? So what's beneficial about that is if you have a social media account and you're trying to gain a following on it. Now, if you have a personal account that's private, hashtags, people will use hashtags in those cases to just be silly. Like you could put hashtag, I don't care, So they'll often use hashtags just as a joke or, saying something kind of tongue in cheek. But if you want to use hashtags for your business, they really can be pretty effective. So the phone's going to ring 100 times. It's Friday, so the phone just keeps ringing. And we sent out a newsletter that was popular earlier this week, and poor Sean's been on the phone like 24 hours a day ever since that went out. So you'll have to bear with us in the phone ringing. So hashtags on those platforms, you can use them to help your business be discovered. Now you want to use hashtags that your ideal client might find you for. So if you're, let's say you're posting a family portrait, maybe on Instagram, then you might do hashtags that your ideal client could find you for, like family photographer or Boston or, wherever you're from. So you could post, area type ones. And then you could also look for relevant hashtags that are popular right now. And you can just Google that. You can Google like Instagram's most popular hashtags or Twitter's most popular hashtags. And Twitter has like the trending. I'm not great on Twitter. I don't use it a lot, but I know that they have the trending hashtags on the left. So if you want to build your following, you can do that by kind of tapping into some of those trending hashtags. Another thing about that is you might say, okay, well, isn't that just a popularity contest? And honestly, that was sort of my mindset when I first started out on social media. I was like, I don't really care how many followers I have. I care how many people are converting into customers. So the bottom line of my business is I need people who are walking in the door and paying clients. It doesn't matter if I have 30,000 Facebook fans, how many of those people are actually hiring Heidi Hope Photography to take their pictures. So at first I kind of dismissed social media as, who cares how many followers you have? It doesn't matter how popular you are on social media. But I will say that social media has been so important to drive traffic to my website, and search engines are still really important for average customers who are searching for services that they need. So when somebody needs a photographer, are they going on Instagram and searching hashtag Boston photographer? No. But they're going to go on Google and they're going to search on Google for a Boston photographer. And if my site gets enough traffic through my social media channels, if it gets enough traffic to raise me up in the search engine rankings so that I'm higher up when people do search for a Boston photographer, then it's worthwhile. So it seems a little far removed, but growing your base using hashtags strategically can help drive traffic to your site, which then can help your search engine ranking, which then can help people who are actually searching for your services on the internet. So that's a big explanation. But yes, I do think they are useful to businesses on the right platforms. I wouldn't bother with them on Facebook. And Pinterest, you could use sprinkle a few in there. But people can find you on Pinterest even if you haven't hashtagged something. So if somebody's searching newborn photographer on Pinterest, they might see that as long as it's in your description or in the keywords or in what somebody else pinned about you. You don't necessarily have to have the hashtag to be seen. Whereas on Twitter and Instagram, you are searching for that specific hashtag to be seen. Does that all make sense? Ooh, my brain hurts. Okay, let me go to the next question. Okay. This one is from Kimberly. I am just shooting on the side with my old Canon T3i. I started with a Canon Rebel, actually, Kimberly. Working on paying off debt, and then I'm on to a better camera. What was your experience like when you went from a mediocre camera to better gear? Was there anything that surprised you, disappointed you, etc.? Thanks always, Heidi. You and Mary are my idols. Oh, thank you, Kimberly. Well, yes, I did notice a big difference. I know a lot of people like to say it's the photographer, it's not the camera. And there is a lot to be, obviously the eye of the photographer is important, and creativity is important, and your own artistic, even everything afterwards, the post-processing, developing your style on the back end. The vision, that is all so important. Knowing how to use your gear is so important. The technical elements to get the best possible shot. These things all matter, but a good camera matters too. So these are all different tools, and all those tools work together. Your equipment, yes, you are going to see a difference when you upgrade to a better camera. I would say hold out and really save up and wait a little bit longer if it allows you to get even the next best camera, because good cameras, and even more than cameras, good lenses make such a difference. Like buying high quality prime lenses, I see a huge difference in work. And teaching workshops, I look at the back of so many people's cameras. Camera bodies, camera models really do make a difference. So full frame camera sensors do help the quality of the image. Prime lenses or high quality lenses, they do help the quality of the image. All those things work together. So can you still take good pictures on your iPhone? Yeah, you definitely can. If you're thinking about composition and color and lighting and all of that stuff. But great equipment does help as well. So it is a piece of the puzzle. So I think congratulations when you get that new camera. It's worth saving for, and I think you'll be excited with the results. Great question. Okay, let's move on to another one here. This one is from Jana. Are you doing a gender reveal soon? I want to. So we did the testing now that they do, the panorama test. So it's a blood test that they do. They didn't even do this with my last daughter, but now they do a blood test and to make sure everything's okay with the baby. And you can also find out the gender, which of course I'm dying to know. I don't like to hold anything as a secret. So plus everything in our house is pink fairies and princesses and mermaids. So if it is a boy, we have a lot of stuff to buy, but if it's a girl, we're all set. So we want to know and be prepared and get excited about it. So hopefully they call me with the results of that soon. But yeah, it should be in the next week or so. So hopefully we'll do something. I don't know if I'm going to be patient enough to plan a whole gender reveal shoot or not. Probably not, but we'll do something fun. Okay, this question is from Jillian. How do you come to find your own portrait style without getting lost in all the other amazing styles out there? I'll wait for the phone. There we go. I find myself having trouble sticking to, just kidding. I find myself having trouble sticking to just one. Is testing the waters okay, and for how long? Thanks, Heidi. Okay, this is a great question. And I feel like I struggled with this a lot too. I do feel like our style kind of developed over time. And a lot of the consistency in our style developed because we have the studio space. We're always shooting here. The light is really consistent. We created the space so that it was light and bright and airy. I tend to choose props that are light and bright. So I think that that all kind of developed. And then our post-processing, there are 3 photographers here, but we all process in the same way. So we're all going through the same process in editing our images. That's something that I teach in Photographer Rising, actually. So we have simplified the process of editing to make everything really consistent, and also to make it faster for the photographers, because editing can be a really very time-consuming element of portrait photography. So ours did develop over time. And I think it is important to have consistency in your work to reflect your brand, but I think it is hard. That's something hard to do in the beginning. So in the beginning, I think it's totally fine to experiment. I think the more creative you can be, the better. Ours really came about in an organic way, and it came through a lot of experimentation. I feel like a lot of the props, even that I bought in the beginning, and the way that I designed my first studio space, a lot of that stuff I don't even use anymore because our style has evolved and it doesn't really include some of that stuff anymore. One thing that I think can get your creative juices flowing and kind of get you in the mindset to identify your own style, one thing I love to do is to go online. You could use Pinterest for this now. Pinterest wasn't around back when I started, but Pinterest would be great for this now, to go online and make a pin board for yourself. It could be private or public. Make a pin board for yourself and just pin every single photo that you love, like not mediocre, but that you're totally in love with. And don't worry about trying to make them all be a certain style. Don't worry about making them fit in a particular mold. Just go through and start pinning everything that catches your eye into this one board. And when you have the whole board done, you can look at the whole thing and then try to find connections. Like, what is it about work? If I started pinning work, it's funny, I actually really gravitate towards work that's very different from mine. So you would think, oh, Heidi's gonna pin a lot of light and airy, colorful, whimsical work, but that's not necessarily true. I think what I love about photography is not necessarily the post-processing and picking out props. A lot of it has to do with the feelings that you're going to get when you're looking at it, and the emotions. And so something that might connect all of my choices on my pin board would be that they're high in energy and they're fun and they're creative. Maybe they have some kind of a creative spin, whether it's a creative angle or it's just something I've never seen before that really catches my attention. And so those things weave together what I love about photography. And then those things I try to work into my style. So I hope that makes sense for you. But that's a good way to get started. And I think there's nothing wrong with just experimenting and having fun. That's part of why you're an artist and why you're creative. And I think trying to box yourself in too soon is really going to hurt your work rather than help it. So yeah, that's my answer for that one. All right, let's take one more for the day. Oh gosh, there's so many in here. If I don't get to your question, as always, please resubmit it next week for me. I try to get to all of them. So you can always see the call for questions out on the Facebook page. And if I don't get to everyone, I try to kind of skip over questions that have been asked recently and stick to questions that we haven't heard in a while. So if we don't get to yours this week, just keep resubmitting it. We will get to it. Okay, Christina asks, hi Heidi, first of all, congrats on your chicken nugget news. Thanks, Christina. Your painted backgrounds are so beautiful and look like such a labor of love. I was wondering how you protect them. I'd love to try my hand at it, but I'd be paranoid that little hands, especially full of cake, would destroy it. Any tips? P.S. I was in your brother's class at St. Peter's and always thought you were the cutest thing. Good to see some things never change. That's so funny. Well, hello, St. Peter's alumni. So Okay, so when I'm painting acrylic on canvas, and when acrylic dries, it's not going anywhere. So you can wipe it. So I would not worry about, it's really sturdy. I don't do anything to protect it. I suppose you could do a layer of acrylic sealer over the whole entire thing if you were really worried about it. But honestly, you do not have to. Once acrylic dries on canvas, it's not going anywhere. It's not going to chip. It's not going to peel. Especially if you buy decent quality acrylics. And I just buy, I wonder if I have any floating around in here. I don't think I do, but I just buy basics. It's Liquitex Basics paint, and it's inexpensive, but it's high enough quality that it's going to stick. It's going to stay on the canvas. And then if anything got on it, I just wash it right off. Or honestly, I would maybe, if there was something really bad, like somebody ran up to it with a permanent marker, I would just paint a little bit over it. But yeah, and you definitely can wipe it down with a wet cloth. It's not going anywhere. So paint on canvas is the most sturdy of the backgrounds that I do create. Sometimes we do some on paper, and that kind of stuff I always do much more quickly because it isn't going to last. It's definitely, it will get ruined by cake. But that's the way to go if you want it to last. So thanks for your questions this week, everybody. It's great to see you again. We will see you next week for the next episode. We have 2 more weeks of FAQ Friday, I think 2 more. And then I'm going to be teaching the Photographer Rising online workshop the following week. So you won't see me then, and we'll pick back up after that. So have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Bye.